Hey, this is the last day in in my basement for the next couple of days, because I'm going to Nerdtacular with Scott Johnson there.
Yay.
You ready to do this monumental show?
I am.
All right.
It's really going to be the greatest one you've ever done. Let's admit it now. Let's go ahead.
The greatest generation of Daily Tech News shows.
That's right.
Here we go.
Thank you for tuning in to the Daily Tech News Show. If you would like to listen live, press 1 now. If you would like to watch live, press 2 now. If you would like to download later, press 3 now. If you would like to support, go to bit.ly/helpdtns.
Woo! This is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, July 2nd, 2014, the day after Canada Day. I'm Tom Merritt, and it's the day before Nerdtacular. Scott Johnson, co-host of the morning stream, Current Geek the Instance, and the man behind Nerdtacular is with me this afternoon, this evening, depending on where on earth you are. Hi, Scott.
Hey, man, it's good to be back. It's nice to actually do this. I was saying before the show, it's a nice break from planning this convention, because that's all it's been for me for the whole week, is just solid thinking about that. So to come in here and just, I don't know, shoot the poop with Tom a little bit, have a little fun in my day, I'm pretty excited about it. Thanks for having me.
You are a busy man, so I'm extremely appreciative that you were willing to take a little break and spend it with me instead of like a cup of tea or something.
Well, it is my pleasure, but it's also preparatory because we're going to hang out a lot this weekend. And
yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. Well, let's get right into the headlines then. GigaOM reports Facebook COO Sheryl Sandberg, speaking to NDTV India, commented on the research about emotional contagion. That's the stuff we've been talking about the last couple of days that was published based on data from Facebook. Sandberg said, "We communicated very badly," and added, "Facebook cannot control emotions of users. Facebook will not control emotions of users." Well, if you can't do it, Sheryl, why are you promising that you won't?
Hey, I'll say one thing about this.
Yeah.
That isn't the problem. The problem isn't that we're not saying you can. We're saying you did things that can, not that you are in charge of other people. That whole last two statements sound like a robot said them.
Yeah.
You know?
I think the problem is that the psychologists. I think the problem's less with Facebook, honestly, and more with the fact that the psychologists conducted research without informed consent, which is not proper for the researchers.
Yeah, simple as that.
The Verge reports Google acquired music service Songza, which supplies human-curated playlists. Suggestions for playlists are based on what songs you like, obviously, as well as things like time of day, weather, and activity. Google says it will integrate the service into Google Play Music and possibly other products. They mentioned YouTube, for instance. No immediate changes are planned for the Songza service itself. And a hat tip to Hermith, who posted the story on subreddit. Scott and I are going to talk a little more about this in a minute. The New York Times reports venture capitalist Tim Draper was the winning bidder for all 29,656 bitcoins seized in the Silk Road bust. They were auctioned off by the U.S. Marshals Service. Draper intends to partner with Bitcoin exchange Varum to provide Bitcoin services in markets with weak national currencies, kind of as a bulwark. Like, your currency's weak? Here, let me sell you some Bitcoins. They're totally safe and reliable. TechCrunch reports the Russian Duma has taken the first steps toward passing a law that would require the data of all Russians to be stored within Russia. If passed, it would mean every internet service would have to locate servers in Russia if they wanted to have any interactions with Russian customers. Carriers would be required to restrict services that do not comply. I think it's time we come up with an Iron Curtain firewall metaphor, kind of like the Great Firewall of China, Scott.
And this is anybody. So if Yahoo wants to have users in Russia, in Russian and all that, they have to have physical servers.
If this were to pass, they would have to have their servers located in Russia to store the data of any Russian customers.
And it may be a bigger question than we have time to answer, but is this the China thing already happening? Isn't that what they already kind of do with a lot of services, and they block them if they don't?
It is similar to some of the things that China does. I mean, people are throwing that out there saying, they're getting more like China. You can argue about how much more like China, or whether this is a perfectly logical reaction to Snowden revelations. Remember, Russia has Snowden, so they're very familiar with what he has been revealing. There was an attempt in Brazil to do a similar thing, and I don't think anyone thought Brazil was becoming China. It didn't pass. We'll see if this one passes, though. But Iron Curtain, Iron Firewall, I don't know. I'm still working on it.
All right.
Engadget reports the good news that full service for Chumby is back. Kids, gather around. I want to tell you a little story about the time before smartphones with touchscreens existed. See, Daddy used to have a beanbag that did lots of similar things to your phones, like apps and Twitter, and when its owner went out of business, it almost died. But Blue Octi LLC kept the music and alarm functions working, and now, a year later, Blue Octi has announced 1,000 apps and faster, more efficient performance for $3 a month. This makes nostalgic, internet-connected beanbag owners like your pa very happy. Hey, did you hear anything I said, kid? Put down the iPod Touch and pay attention.
I want an iPhone, Dad. I don't want this. I want an iPhone.
Chumby users. You're very excited.
They're cute. They're quaint,
Chumby
right?
users have always been very patriotic for the Chumby. And I'm not against the Chumby. I'm not a Chumby hater. I think that's awesome.
No. You're not anti-Chumby?
No. Don't believe everything you read. Xiaomi cannot be stopped. Get used to it, folks. The next web reports Xiaomi sold 26.1 million smartphones in the first half of 2014. That's more than all of 2013 and a 271% jump year over year. Xiaomi only sold 18.7 million phones in all of 2013, which itself was a 160% jump. Xiaomi CEO Lei Jun expects the company to sell 100 million smartphones in 2015. The company has moved outside of China to Singapore and other parts of Southeast Asia. They're coming to Latin America next. They cannot be stopped, Scott.
Oh, no.
Get used to it.
I was worried about that. Well, we Chumbists here in the States will fight hard and fight.
We'll welcome them. Well, they're good. They're good phones for cheap. You know, I was kind of looking at one today.
Who's to argue with that? Those kinds of things are hard to argue with, and I'm sure if Apple or Android or others wanted to be much cheaper, they would to compete with this, so it probably work itself out.
Competition. Reuters reports Facebook is launching a new advertising unit in India that uses a clever trick to get around phone charges. The new type of ad allows mobile phone users to click a button that then calls the advertiser and immediately hangs up on them, but that triggers a return call, and the return call will have a recorded message. They used examples of things like cricket scores might be in there with a sponsor's message, or shopping discounts might be told to you. The clever thing is it doesn't use data because it's a phone call, and it doesn't use your minutes because they're calling you.
Wow. Okay. That seems like clever is the word you used here. That also seems just a little, I don't know. They're just getting around the rules. Won't somebody just say, we're going to clamp down on that here in India and decide that you can't do that anymore?
Well, but the advertisers are paying for their side of the call, so I don't think the carriers mind, honestly.
They don't care either way.
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of like beeping. I don't know if you know about beeping, where you just, you can just send a little bit of a message in a, you change your caller ID, and then you call and hang up, and the caller ID has your message in it. That's clever. Researchers at the University of Illinois have made some tiny robots that freak Scott Johnson the F out. Study leader Rashid Bashir and colleagues use a bit of skeletal muscle controlled by an electrical field to propel centimeter-long bots similar to an inchworm. They just kind of inch along. Well, they don't inch along because they're not even an inch. They're a centimeter. I guess they're centimeter worms. Anyway, the researchers imagine the biobots could eventually be used in medical applications or environmental cleanup. I think the thing that made this so awful for Scott was the fact that the inchworms were in a video that had something similar to tubular bells in it. But we've lost Scott for the moment, so hopefully we'll get him back. The next web reports Google has selected the 100 most active scouts in its Project Ara audience to be beta testers of an actual prototype. Project Ara is the attempt to make a modular cell phone that can have pieces swapped out for new ones without replacing the whole phone. Unlike Google Glass, Project Ara beta testers will get the phone for free. Ars Technica reports that the Administrative Office of the United States Courts has issued a report indicating there were 3,576 court-approved wiretaps reported in 2013, and that's an increase of 5% over 2012. Now remember, this report covers domestic criminal cases. This is not FISA, this is not Snowden-related, this is domestic criminal cases. Authorities encountered encryption only 41 times out of those 3,576 wiretaps. Only 41 times did they encounter encryption, but here's the kicker. They cracked that encryption 32 times. So there you go. Time for some news from you. These are stories submitted by the folks on our subreddit at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. They are the kinds of things that you want to hear. Some of it I look at and I say, hey, that's getting a lot of upvotes, and I make sure I put it in the main section. But I like to spice things up with some submissions from you. So get in there. There's like 2,700, almost 2,800 folks in there submitting stories, voting them up, voting them down. Get in there and join them. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. First one comes from the Robert Online. He submitted the Engadget story that Reading Rainbow has become the most popular Kickstarter project ever, achieving 91,600 backers as of June 30th, and it's on its way up. They want to hit 100,000. That puts them in front of Ouya, which is arguable whether it's been successful. Puts them in front of the Pebble Watch, which has been fairly successful. And it puts them in front of Veronica Mars, which, if you're a marshmallow, was very successful, then I guess that's all that matters. So Reading Rainbow, now #1 with Kickstarter. Keith Dwayne posted the GeekWire story that HBO plans to double the size of its Seattle engineering office by the end of the year. If you're not getting why you might care about that, those are the folks who operate HBO Go. They also do a bunch of research and development as well. The growth has exceeded the expectation of Otto Burkus, HBO's chief technology officer. So we could run away with that and start making some kind of speculation about whether HBO Go is going to be available to people without a cable subscription. I think that would be a leap, but they're definitely serious about that. So maybe a few years down the road, this thing gets big enough to do something like that. It certainly isn't a bad thing. And that is a look at the headlines. Don't forget, Nerdtacular is coming up this weekend. I'll mention this again at the end of the show, but we will have a few programming changes. For instance, tomorrow's show will be headlines and then maybe some commentary with people I'm just hanging around with. We won't have a live stream, though. It'll be audio only. And then on Friday, we're actually doing the show live from Nerdtacular, and you can listen to it like you always do on Alpha Geek Radio. It'll be an hour earlier because of the conference schedule, so we'll be at 12:30 Pacific, 3:30 Eastern Time. But Alpha Geek Radio is going to have the whole Nerdtacular ball of wax. You can listen to everything. If you're not going to be able to make it to Salt Lake City, and I know a lot of people wanted to make it and they can't, you can listen in at alphageekradio.com and pretend you're there. Just close your eyes and turn it into a world of imagination. Thanks to Todd Whitehead and all the folks over there for making that possible. All right, Google buying Songza. This is freaking weird to me in one way. In another way, it's perfectly legitimate. Now, we saw Apple buy Beats. They paid a few $1 billion for that. Of course, Beats had a hardware service alongside it. Songza is a much smaller service, only 5.5 million subscribers. And Songza doesn't have any other business. They are just a streaming service, but they do something similar to Beats. They curate songs. They have human curators, and they do something similar to Beats in that the Beats music service does moods. Now, they do it differently, but Songza attempts to do that too. It says, hey, we know what kinds of things you've listened to, we know what kinds of things you like, and so we're going to try to surface those, and Beats does the same thing. Google Plus, on Google Plus, Google announced we aren't planning any immediate changes to Songza, so it will continue to work like usual for existing users, so they're not getting rid of it. Songza said no immediate changes to Songza are planned, other than making it faster, smarter, and even more fun to use, so they're not getting rid of it yet, at least according to those things. But Scott, why do you think Google was after Songza? And that begs the question, I suppose, why do you think Apple was after the Beats music service? Why is everybody after human curation now? Because Google already had a system in their All Access service that had algorithmically generated playlists.
Well, doesn't it seem like, it seems to me like whenever Google acquires somebody like this, and it seems a little bit counterintuitive based on something else they're making internally, sometimes it just feels like they're doing it because, well, they're this much further down the road. We can still tie in our huge knowledge base and all our data bank and everything else we have going on at Google. We can still trap that in on the back end, but they've got all this other work done, and it just is a big time-saving effort on the part of Google. And I would point to things like YouTube even. I mean, at the time, Google had their own Google Video initiative, and it looked like they were going to go for it. And there are some neat ideas that were behind that, and some of that stuff still remains with searching for YouTube videos and things. But I think at some point they went, well, you know, the cat's sort of already out of the bag, genie's out of the bottle. We're gonna go ahead and just buy the thing that has already got all the eyeballs, and then we can still do all our cool tech down the road. This is a little different in that I don't know that Songza was quite the household name YouTube was when that happened.
No, definitely not. It's hard to compare their different eras, but I had forgotten a little bit about Songza. Sorry, Songza guys. So when I saw the announcement, I was like, oh, right. Because we've been talking about moving off Aereo, actually. My wife and I have the family plan, and she's been listening to Spotify because the songs she wants to listen to, the new ones, are available on Spotify more often than they're available on Aereo. They come to Aereo a little later. So for her, it's all about not just discovery, but also like finding things that she knows about. These human curated playlist situations are intriguing to me because they fill a different need. They fill the need of the DJ. And I feel like historically there have been two ways you listen to music, right? And I'm going to get real old school on you. You can turn on the FM radio and listen to your album-oriented radio DJ selecting a mix that he or she thought was the best mix possible, and you put your trust in their hands and listen to things and hear cool stuff. Or you took that stack of 45s and you put it on the changer and you had your own playlist, right?
Yeah.
And that it seems like we keep swinging back and forth between like, oh, we're gonna give you Amazon Music, we're gonna give you iTunes in the cloud, and you can store all your playlists and listen to them wherever you want, and you're in charge, right? And now we're swinging to like, you're not so good at this, are you? Well, you want to listen to things that maybe you didn't know you wanted to listen to. Here's curation, and we know your tastes, and we have people behind it, not just algorithms, who are able to expose you to new things.
Yeah, I feel like, so I have the Aereo family plan as well, and we've been pretty happy with it. But I have noticed some of the stuff, you mentioned Eileen's noticed, that some of the newer stuff isn't hitting as quick, or they don't have the rights as long, or, weird combinations of both. Or you get a whole album, and 2 tracks will be sample only for 10 seconds. You're like, what is going on with that? And a week later, the whole song's there. So as that stuff starts to happen, you start to wonder what's going on with licensing. But moreover, I'm interested in a service where I can kind of have some control, but also sometimes I just want to listen to stuff. Give me music that sounds like, I don't know, Knife Party, and give me a station. They're all doing it. Pandora, everybody, they got stations. They're pretty good at giving you stuff that's similar. You can skip stuff you don't like and whatever. I want that, but there are times where I'm just like, you know what, I'm in a weird bluegrass mood and I want to listen to nothing but the Pickin' On series all day long today. And I want to pull those down, and better yet, I want to sync those to the phone so when I'm out, I'm not using my data plan. Like, I feel like there are a lot of us that want all of those levels of control, but also that kind of serve me thing. If that's what this is for them, if they're going to figure out a way to truly do that, leverage their drive technology, and then also leverage the technologies that come with Songza in terms of curated playlists, then maybe these are the guys. I think what the bottom line for all of this is Google with a platform needing to feed the platform with a better music service, because right now nobody really cares about Google Music, but they care about Aereo, they care about Spotify. Spotify may be far and away Spotify, but these other services have kind of taken the crown, and for them to keep up or to better feed the Android ecosystem, they need a big beast of a competitor in this way, and I'm sure this is just part of that. This is one piece to that overall puzzle.
Yeah, because several times I've said, I have a lot of songs that I like that aren't available in any of these services because they're obscure little indie tracks that somebody made on their own website or this or that and caught my fancy, or they're nerd rock and it's just not very widely popular, or it's open source, which sometimes if you have a public domain or open source Creative Commons license, it makes it harder to get into these services because they have weird DRM rules. Anyway, I've said I want a service that lets me just put all my music, and it doesn't have to be recognized or matched. Just put it all in the cloud, have my playlist that I can manage there, and have the Aereo-like discovery feature for things that I don't own so that I can listen to new stuff. Everybody says that's Google. That's all access music with the Google Play service. But for some reason, it just doesn't ever catch on. So maybe this Songza way is a way to, first of all, it's going to get more people looking at Songza and experimenting with it, and then hopefully for Google, at least Google thinks hopefully, they'll start to experiment with the Google Play Store more.
Yeah, and it does seem unlikely that they're going to just call it Songza to me. They're not gonna pull this brand over and say, sign up for Google Songza. That's weird. I think that they end up doing something else. I don't know what it is. Call it like with the way Microsoft got rid of the Zune store and just Microsoft Music that thing. or whatever, because I don't understand. There's no real draw here when you say Songza. Up
It's
until
not
this
like
news today,
YouTube, right, where they kept the brand because it was so strong.
yeah, there is no strength here. It's just a name, and it's just one of them. And if it had a bunch like that, well, sure, keep it. But I don't think it does. So it's actually a little bit of a head scratcher. I think this is just a case, once again, of Google's got a ton of money, and I'm not saying they're spending it willy-nilly and in bad places or making mistakes with it, but they can afford to experiment and say, well, we don't have all this front end yet, so why are we going to build that again? Let's just pull these guys over. We've already talked to their guys. We know what their technicians, what their senior tech is saying about what the underpinnings are and what the undercarriage of that service is. We know we can plug into all that real quickly and easily, far faster than if we bought Pandora or somebody. But then again, if they were to buy Pandora, that's a name, that's a brand. And in this case, they didn't. So it's either the technology or some kind of combination of those things. But I'm with you 100%. I want to be able to go. I don't want all things necessarily, but I want to be able to manage my music in a really meaningful way. The things I already like and don't need to be told I like. But then I want to be able to go and have little offshoots. Like, well, you like, Santana, you might like these 10 other bands. And I like that and I want that. But what I really want all of that to be is a little less restrictive. I want to see indie artists on Bandcamp with their music up there, and you never see their stuff up there.
Totally.
So there's a long way to go for that stuff. If this Songza acquisition gets us closer to that, then I cast my vote in the yay.
I think it's mostly the human curation element that they want, and who knows? Maybe, when I tried it out this morning, there were 2 playlists it recommended for me. One was indie songs that aren't weird. And the other was songs from Apple commercials.
Oh.
So
right.
Neither one of those really appealed to me in their description. But when I looked at the songs, I'm like, okay, the songs aren't bad. It's just a weird way of saying it.
And the branching's fun, right? So if you got that songs in Apple commercials, and you hear one that you're like, I like that one. That's weird, but I don't like any of the rest of these on that album or otherwise. I love that. Let's fork off another direction.
Yeah, let's build off of that.
Yeah, and if it's good enough to say, yeah, you liked that very specifically, guess what? There's a whole treasure trove of stuff just like it. And it has always been very interesting to me. Aereo does a pretty good job of that. Other services do as well. So, if Google wants my monthly subscription, who am I to say no if it's better? So.
Real quickly, before we move into the calendar, I wanted to ask you how the Aereo decision has affected you, because you were an Aereo subscriber, and then, of course, they had to shut off the service after they lost in the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I haven't been on here since that all fell apart. I think I came on right after the whole thing happened, and they pulled the service, at least they thought temporarily, and while this was going through the courts. It was how I watched the Super Bowl on a 70-inch 1080p screen. It was awesome. Loved it. I did it through my Apple TV and just did it through my phone. So I just AirPlayed it. It was fantastic, and everybody enjoyed it. It was here, and we had a big party around it. It was if nothing had ever changed. I had over-the-air, great-looking HD TV all through Aereo, through Aereo, and really got into it and loved it. And I used it every day for something. I'd check news that way, local programming, whatever I needed to do. When they pulled it, I wasn't prepared for just how used to it I had gotten, and it stung. I didn't enjoy that at all. So I really thought they were going to win this. The fact that they didn't, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and those guys said no. And while there's some of what they said, I kind of see their point of view, but generally I think it was kind of a goof. And I don't see what comes of this other than some of what you talked about on the show. There's some interesting theories about where they could go now, but I miss it. And I wanted to watch a whole bunch of the World Cup this year, and I couldn't, because that convenience was ripped from me that I was willing to pay for.
Why not get an antenna would be what a lot of people would ask.
Well, I can and probably will now. But, I don't want to pay for a thing on the house that's all sticking out. I don't know. I just felt like this was such a cool way for me to work around that. It's essentially like saying, well, why don't you buy a truck and move all your dirt? Well, I'd rather rent one, right. That they maintain, that they fix, that they do the upkeep on it, and then I just get the programming. And that's kind of how I looked at it. So it'll be missed. And whatever comes out of all this, I hope what rises from the ashes is some semblance of this kind of thing again, but one that's quote unquote fair for all parties, and then it works out.
Well, let's wish a happy birthday to BitTorrent. It is a teenager now. Because in 2001, Bram Cohen first revealed BitTorrent on a Yahoo group called Decentralization, and the rest is still happening in history. BitTorrent is a protocol, remember, not a crime.
What cake would you celebrate with? What cake for his birthday for this?
Well, I would probably have a lot of different kinds of cake all compiled into one cake.
So all the guests would bring a little
the
piece. The
pieces would show up as the guests arrived. Exactly.
All right, that was an ugly cake, but sure. Why not?
Oh, so tasty. Our pick of the day comes from Tim. He was hearing us talk about the Swift player, which was a previous pick from one of our listeners for Android as a high-speed playback of video. Unfortunately, it's iOS only, and Tim is on Android, so he says, hey, unless you're looking to specifically use it on YouTube videos, your favorite podcatcher, and he's talking to me, Downcast, has this feature built in for video as well as audio. I do use it on audio, but I don't subscribe to video podcasts on my phone, actually. So, I mean, I do, but I just generally listen to them. I don't watch them. So I didn't think about this. You can even assign different default speeds to different podcasts. You haven't been less than 2x for me for a while, so we should slow down, Scott. He says that means it's inordinately slow when he watches me on the live stream. I know how that goes because I listen to Scott Johnson's The Instance on 2x pretty much all the time.
Yeah, we are munchkins on that show for Tom.
And it's really fun when you guys talk about it and then either speed up or slow down, especially Turkster.
It gives us a regular joke point. But I like Downcast a lot. It has been my podcatcher / player of choice for a very long time. I didn't know this did that.
I knew it did it for audio. I didn't know it did it for video. That's cool.
Yeah, total surprise. But you and I come from I feel like we appreciate the art that is audio, even if if video's involved somehow.
Yeah.
Audio, there's something special about audio, and that's why I've always argued it'll never go away. So some of us just never dig much deeper than that. But that is really good to know because that app is pretty ubiquitous now. I recommend it to everybody who's asking, and it seems to make everybody happy. So that
one and Pocket Cast, those are my go-tos.
Yeah, they're good.
So thank you, Tim. Folks, you can send your picks to us, and we will feature them on the show. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com, and you can find my picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. A couple of messages to get to before we go. John in Beeville, Texas. I've been to Beeville, actually. Writes, hi, I don't remember why, but I recognize the name. Hi, Tom. I don't really mind that Facebook performed an experiment on us. If I found out that poor decisions were made due to arguments or bad feelings at the time of the experiment, then I might be upset. A lot of people have said, look, the effect of the study wasn't very strong. So, let's be practical about this. Anyway, John continues, I would like the algorithm for emotions to be made an option in our Facebook settings. I want to be able to prioritize happy posts and hide negative posts by default. That's an interesting thought. Only show me the happy.
If they would only, well, okay. Would Facebook have to know the difference in some algorithmic way?
He's pointing to the research where they used Facebook's data to scan posts and determine if they were overwhelmingly positive or majority negative, and then they hid or posted them. So he's like, just do what the researchers did.
Yeah, I'm actually with him. If that's possible, that would be great.
Make it an option.
Still be user controlled. You're not taking the control out of the user's hands.
Make it user.
You'd still kind of have to trust the system. You'd have to know that what you're missing out on is all negative or whatever. Or I guess the flip side of this is would you make it so you could only filter out negative and the positive just are there no matter what? Not unlike their little thumbs up always being a thumbs up. There's never a thumbs down in the Facebook ecosystem. You're never telling something that it sucks. And maybe this is the way to do that. But I don't think you want to give the people the power to say, I only want to see what's good, or I only want to see what's bad. Oh, boy. Even saying it out loud, though, Tom, makes me not like the idea. Because then I'm letting something tell me what's good or bad. I feel like that kind of my ability to see something and make a informed choice about it, I feel like filtering out bad just puts you in an echo chamber. I don't know. Whose definition of bad? Did we lose Tom? Am I the only one talking? Oh, sorry. I thought I got cut off. Hey, everybody. What's going on? I'll keep talking. Google Hangout's been a little weird today. I got kicked earlier. You guys probably didn't even notice. You know why? Because Tom just kept going because he's a freaking pro. he knows how to do that. He just keeps talking and knows what to say next. I usually do, but I assumed that it was me again, but I am told I'm not. Oh, that's funny. He probably is still talking to the audio audience. All right, I'll keep talking. Well, there you go. Unless we see Tom come back, let's just tear out of here. But I got to say, I kind of agree with John. I want to have that choice. I'm not sure that kind of choice is good for us as a people, but I feel like it's at least a choice. And if they're gonna do this to us without us knowing, that bugs me. Let me choose, and maybe we're okay. Problem with Facebook is they haven't got that kind of credibility with a lot of people, so they don't think they're going to make the good choice. So how do they know if the stuff they're keeping out is negative or positive? Because you don't trust the source already. So I think that's an uphill battle from a PR perspective for those guys. Tom is rebooting, so he may be back here in a second, but I'm going to read this email anyway. This is from Larry. He writes in, I am not sure anyone has picked up on this, but Dwayne at Blue Octi has reactivated the Chumby service July 1st. Oh, did we talk? I guess this came up already. He was an employee who brought his assets and worked since the closing and got it up and running again. It's been a major labor of love, and he took no payment at first, but then supplemented some of the expense selling branded items and surplus. I'm sure this would make a great story, he says. Well, I agree. I completely agree. Ooh, I see Tom's face pop in. There's Tom.
Well,
right there.
and so that is why I totally think Facebook is after me, Scott. Wait, what happened?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Google's after us today because it's now me, then you. I thought it was me again, but here we are. I just read. I read down through the another email because you told me to. Which one?
Oh, you read about the Chumby?
Yeah, I read that. I read the Chumby thing and just read that.
Nice. Well, thank you for taking over the show. We've tag teamed on this show today.
We really have, you know.
I mean, what was weird is Alpha Geek Radio folks kept hearing me because only the power to one computer went out. I'll explain later, but I do have an uninterruptible power supply, so I'm not sure what happened to the important computer, but there you go. Nerdtacular is coming up. I'm very excited. It starts on Friday. What do we have in store that is new versus last year?
Well, it's exciting. So tomorrow, I guess technically it kicks off on Thursday night. We have a big reception, but that's really just everybody kind of going, hey, I haven't seen you in a long time. How's it going? And whatever. And it's just sort of preparing for the next morning. But the big difference this year is one I'm kind of excited about, and it's also new territory for us. Instead of me getting up for most of the day for 2 days and moderating various panels and such, or live shows on one big main stage, which has always been fine. It's always worked out okay. We are switching that up this year, and with the help of you and people like Steven Schleicher and Nicole Spagnolo have gotten together and come up with a way to split this thing out into 3 big tracks. So we've got kind of my big core things we do. Those are just less of those, and they're the ones that everybody really cares about. And then we branch out into these other areas like podcasting, how to make them, how to do them, how to monetize them. We have a comics panel and track that's all about that. We have little things that fit in everywhere, like cosplay and how to do it with Builderan. We still have our costume contest. We still have our All-Stars competition. We have that all day for 2 days with different teams competing for the trophy at the end. So it's just kind of gotten bigger without getting bigger in a weird way. And I'm really excited to see how different that is. One nice thing about this year is we've figured out a way to live stream all of it. So there'll be video and audio live streams all at nerdtacular.com/live. So if you want to catch me and Tom and Veronica and everybody, that's a great way to do it. And we'll be doing that for the full 2 days of programming. And then all of that stuff will be archived as well for podcasts and other stuff later. So those are I think the 2 things I'm most excited about is our ability to bring it to people who couldn't come, and this chance we have to really blow things out with additional panels and additional content this year. It's going to be good.
I am so looking forward to it. It's going to be a blast. So remember, folks, programming note again. The show will be audio only tomorrow, and I'm not sure exactly when it'll come out. It'll just be headlines and maybe some conversations. Who knows? Maybe I'll record the conversations of me and Jury and Roger Chang and maybe Brushwood in the car on our way up to Snowbird, and we'll just talk some tech. I have no idea what we'll do, but we'll have it out by the end of the day tomorrow. And then on Friday, we'll be back to a normal live show, but it will be an hour earlier than usual, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 Pacific, because we're at 1:30 Mountain Time, because we're
That's
in
right.
the only time zone that matters, Scott.
Yeah, that's right. Keep that in mind. And you guys are going to be doing that from the stage. So what a cool way to see DTNS for the first time ever. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. And then it's going to be a shorter show. It's going to be me, Patrick Beja, and Justin Robert Young. And then after the show, we will discuss with Jenny Josephson on stage as well about how we manage the DTNS community, what the community means to us, and all of that sort of thing. So it's part show, part how-to podcast, and it's part of that how-to podcast track.
Yeah, and it's great because this event, I should say, and sort of closing this out, is all about the community. It's really no other reason that we're doing it. And it's a way to just bring all these listeners, viewers, and whatever together in one place. We have so many shared communities. There's so much sort of interpolation between Frog Pants audiences and Tom's audience and Veronica's audience and everybody's audiences. And we go there, we kind of coalesce, and we all have these like-minded ideas of what we like, what entertains us, what we want to talk about. And it's just a chance for us to mingle in a way that you just can't do in any other setting. So, go to Comic-Con and get lost in the sea, or come to Nerdtacular and actually get to hang out with us. It's your choice.
Nerdtacular.com, and will you find links to the live stream from there?
Yeah, nerdtacular.com/live. There's also a button right up top that says live. You hit that, same thing. Frogpants.com/live will get you there. We're trying to make it redundant, so even if you mess up and go to the wrong place, you'll somehow find it.
Excellent.
So yeah, we got you covered, man. It's going to be good.
Don't forget, folks, I want to thank you for being our patrons. Patreon.com/AceDetect. Everybody should have gotten their bill for June. And keep in mind, if for some reason you had a credit card declined, a lot of people use temporary credit cards and they forget or something like that, you will be removed from the Patreon. And that's fine. If you just can't afford it anymore, that's totally fine. We don't want you putting yourself into financial trouble for us. But you might want to pay attention to that. And for those majority of you that continue to help us out, you make the show possible, and we really, really appreciate it. Don't forget, you can have a voice in what stories we cover, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. You can email us, feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. And listen to the show live at mobile.alphageekradio.com. Our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. From somewhere in Utah, I will talk to you tomorrow. See you then.
Is part of the Frog Pants Studios Network. For more information about this and other shows, visit frogpants.com. Audio program so good, it's like you're there.
Yay!
And I have nothing to do now because I got no audio feed. I'll have to wait for the YouTube. So the audio file might be a little later today because I have to wait for the YouTube feed to finish before I can actually publish the show.
Yeah. That was weird. Google had it out.
Oh crap! Sorry, Jenny. Here.
Oh, she's
still out of my routine because I didn't have to stop the recording or anything.
That was some serious business. There were there was DTNS and then there was Alt Universe DTNS.
There were two DTNSs. DTNS is split into two at one point.
They diverged.
Yeah.
And then melded
I'll have to figure that out
back.
because the reason Alpha Geek Radio stayed up is the computer that it is on kept going because it's not actually, well, no, it's plugged in, but it's got a battery. It's a laptop, right? And the internet stayed up because my modem is plugged into a UPS. So that was fine. It was just a little brownout that happened. But for some reason, the UPS did not protect the Mac Mini from going off. Which it should have, so I'll have to trace that out.
Delve into that.
Yeah.
That was exciting.
I still don't know what happened to mine. You know what's funny is the whole thing reminded me of that I'm reading that Martian book, The Martian, by, what's his name?
Oh, Andy Weir. Yeah.
Andy Weir. It's really good. Really like it. But for a second there, when you disappeared, and I was still on, I felt like a dude on a planet where they could hear me, but no one's there. They all left.
You're just watching 80 TV shows and...
Yeah, I'm through my fourth watching of Flow or whatever, and
right,
it's a mess. Got to go out and plant potatoes. Book is awesome, by the way. Well, you read
the
it.
book is really good. I love that. Yeah,
it was really good.
Well, do we have a title?
Well, there's one. Have Nerd Will Travel, which I like.
That's not bad.
But Google plays Songza or Sing a Songza.
Oh, I hate the word songs. Don't you guys? I hate it.
Maybe I'll make tomorrow's show Have Nerd Will Travel.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
because you'll be in the if you do that car thing, which is brilliant, by the way. That's awesome. Are you guys really carpooling it?
Yeah.
Once you get to the airport? Oh, that's great.
I'm not sure if Schwood's coming with us or not because he gets in a little earlier. But yeah, Veronica and I used Sword and Laser because Sword and Laser's happening. We're Sword and Laser's paying for the car, and then Rogers and Justin are just kind of tagging along.
Oh, okay, great. Is Ashley with you as well during that? I think she's coming. Maybe she's coming separate.
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
Rent a big
Could be
car.
a full car.
Gotta have one vegan for a car. You're all set.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that we have someone to eat.
Someone healthy to eat. Yeah.
She won't. She can't eat us. She's vegan.
Right. You're not vegan friendly.
Yeah.
I know that.
I love grass-fed. Never.
Grass-fed Tom. It's good.
All right.
Hey.
So what? So Have Nerd Will Travel will be tomorrow's title.
Show. Yeah.
And then Google plays the Songza.
Yeah. I mean, I thought Chumby. Oh, Chumby. How about 3 Cheers for Chumby? I don't know.
Chumbawamba's the worst song ever made. No, it's probably true, but not a good title.
It's Chumby Chum.
Get the chumby old chum.
Donner, Party of 5.
That was Oregon.
Lou. That was funny, though.
Yeah, it was Oregon.
DTNS interrupted.
Yeah, DTNS interrupted is pretty funny, actually, because it happened twice. Let's do that. Why not?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I got no pride.
I'll take it. All right, now, I don't need to bring, like, hiking boots or anything to Nerdtacular because I'm going to be inside a hotel complex at all times.
I mean, if you wanted to hike, you could, but you don't have to.
Okay.
It's beautiful
I don't
up there,
want
but
to
there's
hike in 99-degree weather.
Oh, it's only going to be like 80, but even then you don't have to hike anywhere.
Right.
Yeah, you never have to leave the beautiful air-conditioned wonderfulness that is the lodge there.
Apologies to folks. I'm going to stop the broadcast because that'll make the YouTube video show up faster, which I need because it's my backup. But we'll keep talking on Alpha Geek Radio for a little bit.